Welcome to our Watch App course from Edgionics. My name is Brett, and in this lecture, we're going to see how to use the simulators whenever you're working with the watch in the iOS app. For the most part, you can select your watch up here and run it. The watch is going to be in debug mode, so you can put breakpoints in your watch code and that will work. And so for the iPhone, it may or may not start up the iPhone app. But what you can do is go ahead and click and launch your iPhone app. And then if you have these prints like we've been using, so let's see down here, we have these prints here, that will still print out in the debugger. But let's see if I go into view controller and did receive, I'll put a breakpoint there, bring up the simulators. So I'm sending to the iPhone, and let's see, we have data sent to iPhone. Bring the simulator up, testing from watch. So that went. Let's see, that was assigned here, but you'll notice the printing nothing happened there. So let's see if we send application context sent from iPhone to watch. I'm going to put a breakpoint there, bring up the simulators. Okay, so send data and testing from iPhone. The output is the output you're getting on the watch side, so the breakpoints are not getting hit and the prints are not happening. So what that means is I ran debug for the watch. So the only thing that's appearing in the debug is output for the watch. And one of the useful things whenever you're sending data back and forth is to have like this label here. You can then have the data you're sending from the watch display in this label. And that way you'll get the feedback on the iPhone, because the iPhone right now is not attached to the debugger. Remember, because I started it from here, so it was not attached. So whenever you're running, you want to debug on the watch, just click the watch here and run it in debug. Then you can start the iPhone. You'll have your pairings as well. You just won't be able to do the breakpoints. So then, what happens if I want to run the iPhone in debug mode? So I can definitely do that now. It's going to run, and then I can start the watch. So if I bring up the simulator, the watch might look like this. I'm going to run the iPhone. I'm going to do a 5 here. Run that. So that's going to reboot my simulator probably. Yeah. For the iPhone. So the iPhone's going to start up. The watch is just going to sit there. And what I'll have to do is start the watch. But I'm going to get all my debug output, and I can put a breakpoint here. That'll get hit this time. So let's see, bring up the watch. Going to do send data, not paired. So let's see, bring up my app. Send data, not paired. So this is where it gets a little tricky when you're running the iPhone first. If I start the watch, debug mode, this can usually cause problems when I'm trying to debug both of them together. So you see what's going on now. The iPhone is going ahead and starting up the iPhone 6 Plus. So it rebooted into that because that's what is associated with the watch. And I've got my watch now. So let's see. I'm going to do a send data. And it's only the watch, again, that is printing out anything into the debugger because the watch is attached to the debugger. So I'm going to stop the watch app and just stop the iPhone. Now, another reason you would want to do both in the debugger, and actually you can do them one at a time, is when you're needing to deploy new code. So if you make changes like we've been doing in the code here to the iPhone, then select your iPhone app. Let's see here, run it. It's going to deploy that iPhone, the newest iPhone app, onto your simulator. So now you've got that code. So later on when you run the watch and your simulator looks like this, you can just click your iPhone app. It'll launch it with the latest code. then you need to do the same when you make code changes to your watch. But if you're always just running your watch and debug like this, then you're always going to keep deploying the latest code to the watch. Now at the top up here, you'll notice sometimes I'll click this, I'll get this menu, and then I'm doing something and I'll get this menu. So the way that works is there's this little arrow right here dividing the app from the scheme. So I've got the apps here that I can run. So I can run my iPhone, I can run the watch app, and then there's the notification, glance, and complications. So this is how I'm flipping between the iPhone and the watch. And you'll notice now I've just got a clock right there, and it's very small, so you've got to click into that little space. But once you hover over it, you get more area to click, and you can flip between the apps. So I've got the iPhone selected now. And then I can choose on this second sub-menu, you can call it, where I'm on the right side of that little arrow. I can choose the iPhone that I want to use. And if you're on the watch, that side of the arrow just has the 38 millimeter and the 42 millimeter. So that's how you can switch between the iPhone and the watch, or the glance notification. And then for the iPhone particularly, how you can still select like an iPhone 5 or something. But for the most part, when you select the iPhone and you run it and debug, you're really just wanting to put the newest code of the iPhone out there inside the simulator. So keep that in mind as you're running these. And just to kind of review, you'll want to select the watch, you'll want to run the watch, and then it's going to start up in the simulator. You can put breakpoints there. Your printouts will appear in the debugger, and you'll bring your watch over. Your iPhone over. You'll click it and start your app. They're both paired at this point, so there's no pairing issues in this case. And the iPhone is not attached to the debugger because we just started it kind of standalone in the simulator with no debugger in this situation. But I've got this label so I can see the data coming across and getting received on the iPhone and output to the iPhone.